Yo, what is up, my brethren? So, firstly, I apologise. I've been AWOL for a few days. I had a call on Saturday from a close friend who has recently been bereaved and said, is there any way you can make it up here and just be here for me? So, half an hour later, I was in the car, long way away. And so no videos for me for a few days. You guys matter to me. I love you. You're amazing. But she came first. So apologies for that. Anyway, so I had a lesson with Mike yesterday. Thank you, Mike, again, as always. And I'm just going to share with you the game that we played. We went over a bunch of stuff in the Van Geet as white with one knight c3 in the lesson. And then we thought we'd do a bot game. Now, I've been playing Antonio, rated 1500. Mike says, no. You don't want to be playing Antonio. You want to be playing something a bit tougher. Because the whole point of playing the bots is that the bots will find holes in your play that even some human players won't find, right? So this is the point. We want to patch up our bucket before we start carrying water. Anyway, so here's a game against Arthur. He's from Wales. He is rated 1700, apparently. So anyway, check this out. So as we're doing this game, you can pause at every point and think, well, what would I play? What do I see on the board? And then we'll compare with what we played in the game. So we have a d4 opening. Now, already at this point, so Mike said that he would take me through the Chigorin, which is kind of funky. Now, I'm not ready for that yet. And by the way, I've got an OTB game tonight against Rolls-Royce, one of the Rolls-Royce teams in Derby over here. So that's an away game. I will be playing knight f6. I'll be playing the Black Knights Tango / Mexican defense in there. But in here, we decided let's go with the Chigorin. So the Chigorin is a d5 opening, and it's in response to the Queen's Gambit. And the classic lines here are the Queen's Gambit declined with pawn e6, or you've got the Slav with pawn c6. And if you play both of them in whatever order, then that's known as the semi-Slav. Okay? There's lots of other ways. This is one of the most classical openings in the whole game, in the whole canon. The Chigorin defense, however, continues with the move knight to c6. And probably describe this as challenging. It ain't the most common, and both players really need to know what they're doing. And let me show you what happens. So in the game, we have knight f3 from white. Bishop comes out to put pressure on the knight. The knight obviously isn't in a pin. The e-pawn hasn't moved, but we're just getting our stuff out into the board. White now makes moves to fianchetto, so we're expecting this bishop to, this bishop to come here, short castles, get on with your life. Okay, e6 now. Now that the bishop is outside of the pawn chain, we can push e6, we can unleash this guy. He might come to, he's got a few choices of squares he can come to. And now the knight comes into my position. I'm thinking, well, why not double his pawns, separate these two. He's attacking the bishop anyway, and the bishop's undefended. So, what we're going to do? Right, we've got moves like h5, maybe. Knight f6, maybe. But do we want to get the bishop off the board? And I thought, no, this is fine. So we went with this. And now just c6. I mean, this looks kind of safe. This looks very London-y, like a reversed London. But I like my position already. Yeah? Opponent still has a light squared bishop, which might struggle to access any of these squares in the future. Obviously, his dark squared bishop is better. We've both got all the bishops. We now have queen b3 from white, and here we've got options. Okay. Now, my first thought, I think here was queen b6, and f takes. Mike, however, gave me some interesting pointers on this. He said, well, look, where's this bishop going? So try to think about the strategy of how the game is going to pan out. We've already said this bishop's going to go to g2, to fianchetto. Now, it's going to be biting on granite, but what else do we also know about pawns? they like to eat each other. Yeah, they all go Pac-Man style. And why leave our rook on this diagonal? Okay, and you know, maybe there's an argument say use a cheaper piece, use a rook rather than the queen to defend a pawn, even though blocking is a kind of defense, right? Okay, so rook b8. We have f3 from Arthur. I just drop back, and he moves his queen over to c3. And the first thing that you should see here, I mean, what jumps out to you? I shall have a sip of tea. Have a look. What jumps out to you here? Well, the queen's moved from this square to this square, right? That means the queens are both on here. Do we still have a dark squared bishop? Yes, indeed we do, right? So we'd love to play this move. We can't right now, but a move like a5 might prepare that. However, no, I mean, a5 is playable. Queen can't take, so our queen defends it. It might be telegraphed a bit. But at this point, I suggested the move f6. Mike said that's a fine move. Because here's our problem, right? Our problem right now is developing this knight. You develop it to h6. White always has the option to take it out with a sniper, messing up our pawns and really saying goodbye to our short castle dreams. But then the knight can't come here. If the knight comes here, it's in everyone's way, right? So I came up with the idea of f6. Mike said, that's a jolly good idea, right? If he trades, and this is what happens, we get our knight out into the board. We're now actually ahead in development, right? We've got arguably slightly better pawns. This guy's now backwards. But in terms of king safety, I think we're fine. I think white's maybe slightly dubious. Okay. Anyway, we have bishop b3 from them, and now it's time for a5. Let's throw in a5. And now whites should have little sirens going off, right? Because there's a serious threat of bishop b4, pinning the queen onto the king and winning a chunk of wood. Okay, now, so they attack the bishop. So what do we do? Oh, that's loud. I'm turning that off. Right. What do we do here? And this is important, you know. You think, do I retreat the bishop? Now, if I retreat the bishop, that gives white a tempo with which to notice what's going on here and get the queen the hell out of the way, right? So, but there are other options as well. So what I figured was, and I don't know if this is the bestest move, I thought I'll trade him off. Trade off the bishop, because that's a free piece. And that is technically a winning advantage, right? And, you know, barring the hold my beer scenario. And if the rook recaptures, we still have this. If white notices the danger and, well, probably can't go there, but let's say it plays like this or something like that, then we've just won a free piece. We can extract the bishop when we're happy, okay? He takes the bishop and loses the queen. Now, excuse me, I'm going through a huge lung detox at the moment. My lungs are almost completely back to where they should be. Okay, so white here could have desperado captured the bishop, right, to get a bishop as compensation, some compensation for the queen. Doesn't decide to do that, decides to take here on d5 anyway. I take with the e pawn. The reason is that if I'd taken the other way, we'd have had 3 pawn islands, right? We'd have had 3 pairs like this. Okay, that's the configuration. We'd have had 3 twos, which ain't the end of the world. But with this move, with this move, I've got the 2 pawn islands, right? We've got a 2 here, and we've got a 4 together. And these guys can work together in unison. Okay. Again, he comes here, looks at the knight. Now, the queen can't legally move. The queen is in a pin. She's going nowhere, okay? So I'm like, you want to take my knight? Happy days. Fine, I'll castle. He takes the knight, take back with the queen. This queen can't even trade herself off, right? It's like, are you going to take the bishop, or what are you going to do? No, defends with the rook. And now I just hit the queen again. And this is a great example of pins, pins, pins. You don't have to cash it in immediately, right? Now I'm threatening to take with a pawn, right? And if I take with a pawn, then Arthur doesn't even get the bishop as change, right? So this really prompts that. But the other thing that I've done here as well is I've moved the pawn slightly further up the board. Okay, so takes, finally. I take back, rook comes in, and here we just push again. Right, this actually opens up queen's attack on b2. Pawn takes here. My rooks are going to come into play. It's a completely winning situation with +6 materials. I snatch the pawn. I push again. Rook blocks on c2. So what would you play here as black? So in the end, I went for queen b1 check. Rook can't block because queen takes, defended by pawn, is mate. Okay, so that forces king takes, rook b to d8 check. King comes away from here, and notice the king can't go here because of the pawn and can't go here because of the queen, right? So this is actually a deflection. The king is forced away from the defense of the rook, wins the rook. We come here, and now we're just pushing pawns, and we're just good. Right, he's trying to push pawns on the other side of the board. It doesn't mean nothing. Right, we've got loads of queens, got all the queens in the world, and this bishop's now trapped as well. So we win the bishop and come in and win the game with checkmate there. Nice little ladder, kind of ladder mate on there. So Arthur, interesting one there, because I mean, what was your assessment of the game? Let's look at the review. Hoo-hoo. No brilliancies, no great moves, but we played 20 best moves, which is nice, and 11 excellent ones. That's good. 2 misses, and only 1 inaccuracy. No mistakes, no blunders. That I will take. That is pretty good. Okay, so it didn't like bishop g4. No, it did like bishop g4. It's the last book move. That's fine. Bishop g4 is fine. Okay. And down to here, queen b1 check it didn't like. Best move here. Queen a1 check and his mate in 3. How? And that's a dovetail. Oh my goodness me. Right, that's the difference. Putting the queen on a1 gives her access to the d4 square and a dovetail mate, covering all of these squares, and the king is blocked in by its own pieces there. Wow. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a lovely mate in 3 puzzle there. But yeah, I don't think we need to go over any other things, but that's a beautiful miss. That's a good one to learn. Right, so yeah, over the board game tonight. Please wish me luck, and I shall do you a report. I should think when I get in, if it's not too late. It might be too late. We'll see. But this is a team I've never played against, and in a league in which I've never played either. So this will be interesting. So hope you're having a good time. Again, apologies for my absence. I'll try and make it up to you guys over the next few days. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.